thing, but don't let anger.
But if we don't turn our cheek, then our anger is gonna burst out.
Right, but see, there's where the balance comes in, right? Let's say you come and hit
Trust me, I like where they're right there.
Right, good. That's what I'm saying.
But the thing is this though, I don't see people applying.
That's the whole issue,
And
right?
and when I say that,
right,
both Muslims or Christian,
yeah,
or whoever it is, I don't see that applying. But in this case,
to see Islam
I'm
is
from the Prophet.
Exactly.
Side.
The thing is, Islam is like the medicine, right? I can give you the medicine, but if you don't take it, it don't do you no good, right?
Totally.
So that's the thing. I mean, this is the advice from the Prophet, but it's up to me and you to implement it, right?
Correct.
Now, when you talk about turning the other cheek, there's difference, right? One is you come and hit me, and I let anger get the best of me, and I start pounding on you and caking
Right, you can respond,
right,
and respond with the same.
Exactly, right? So if you let anger take over you, then you become the loser, right?
Totally,
right?
yeah.
But I could restrain you and be like, nah, bro, like you ain't gonna violate me, right?
Totally, yeah.
So this is the Islamic way.
With peace,
With peace,
right.
exactly,
Totally,
right? So you don't really turn the other cheek because then they can keep slapping you, right?
Gotcha.
But you don't let your anger respond with the same evil, right? That's the beautiful message of Islam. Now, there are Muslims that don't act on it. I know there are Christians that don't act on Christianity, there are Jews that don't act on Christianity or Judaism, but that's those people and they're false. But you have to judge a message by what the message is, not by what the messenger does, right? So somebody comes to you and talks about, you know, keeping the world in a good balance, but maybe that person's a bad person, but that doesn't mean you're like, forget taking care of the environment, right? Because you got to worry about the bigger picture, right?
And is this like a main thing that it was like to gain paradise?
Yes.
Like,
so
like that
part
was
of
the
that,
main thing, do not get angry.
Don't get angry, because see, in not getting angry,
people that don't get angry, still they could be like lusting,
right.
adultery,
So
and not be angry.
That's true, right? But this is one part of the message, right? So one issue is to control one's anger, and when you control one's anger, a lot of things will get better, right?
I totally agree with you.
But that's not the whole message, right? That's why I said this is one piece of it, right?
So me asking you, how will you gain paradise?
So the how you gain, first thing is your belief, right? You got to believe in one creator, right? If you don't believe in the creator that created you, then, you know, think of it this way, right? Let's say you hire somebody, you got a company, right? And then you pay them, you pay their salary, you pay their expenses, you pay their gas, you pay everything. And at the end of the month, when they've done their work, they take that you know, the product, and they go give it to your competitor. Right? You're gonna be like, what? I'm gonna fire you, right? I pay you for everything, and then so it's the same thing. God created us, He gave us life, and then you go worship a monkey, or you go worship a statue, right?
So let's keep it in the area of worshiping the invisible God.
The creator, right? Yeah, invisible God, I'm with you. The one creator, right?
No
statues.
Just like the creator of everything.
I'm with you.
Right?
Good. That's the first thing.
So without putting names, without putting Islam, Christianity, whatever.
Let's take it at the top level. Okay, from there. So when you believe in that one creator, right? You gotta know what that creator's message is. Right? So we believe as Muslims, we believe in Abraham and Moses and Jesus and Muhammad.
So the first message came to the Jewish people.
No, with Adam. Let's take it back, even before the Jewish people. Way back. So Adam was on righteousness, right? He believed in one God, he did everything right. From the later generations, from him, people started worshiping idols. Right? Then Noah came. Right? Noah brought the same message. Told people, look, worship one God, right? Then with Noah, people went back to the prophet right way, right? Then people would go off, the people who were called Ben Israel, the Jewish people, and they would get prophets like Moses and David and Ishmael. So we believe in all of those, right? So as a path to paradise,
the message came for those people, for the Israelites.
Exactly, right? That's the people that were around. But every nation got a prophet, not just the Israelites. It's not just one chosen people of God. Everybody's a chosen person of God, right? So in the Quran it tells us that every nation received a prophet. So what is the key to getting paradise now, right? So belief in one creator, right? And to follow the prophet that was sent to you. So if you were there in Moses' time, follow Moses. If you were there in David's time, follow David. If you were there in Jesus' time, follow Jesus. Like, we believe in Jesus. We want to follow. But the problem is people started to corrupt the message. Right? Today, if you look at the Bible, it's been corrupted.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You are on it, bro. Right? So now in our time we have the Quran. This is the final revelation, uncorruptible. How? Right? One, we memorize the Quran. From the time of the Prophet till our time, hundreds and thousands of people.
And I read that. My problem is this though.
Go ahead.
Okay? trust me. I think
I'm with you.
I think we're connecting.
We're connecting. Yeah.
But I will tell you where I'm like, when my difference.
I like it.
And I'll tell you why.
Good.
Okay?
Go for it.
So, I like reading history.
Good.
Okay?
Me too.
So I look back and
Right.
like when the prophets came,
Yeah.
the last prophet, and let's say
Muhammad.
the last prophet, you know,
Right.
which you know, let's say from my perspective, okay?
I'm with you.
I will see the last prophet to be Jesus.
Okay.
Muhammad, I don't know much about him.
You should
I know
learn.
some history. You know, I know a few things here.
Good.
So I don't discredit it.
Okay.
Just take that, okay? I don't discredit it, but I also don't embrace it yet.
Good.
You know,
Think
just
about
because, yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, like for example.
So let me show you something real quick. This is the Bible, right?
But I have, like I say,
So
it's always been present in my life in various ways.
this is the advice from Jesus, right? Be completely loyal to God, our God. Their nations.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
before you read this, who wrote this?
The Bible?
No, what you're reading right now. In the Deuteronomy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the Bible, right?
So who wrote this?
Oh, in Manchester,
This
that's where I
book.
studied.
This is your Bible,
I
right?
literally lived in Mossad, which
Well, it's
is
not the Bible.
I mean, yeah. This is the numbered edition, contemporary language.
The book of the Deuteronomy, because this is the Torah, the first
Right.
the books of the Torah.
This is the Old Testament, right?
Right. So who
Yeah.
wrote the Deuteronomy?
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
You know what I'm
right?
saying?
Yeah.
No, the reason why I ask is sometimes
Right.
like, we
No,
read
that's good.
stuff and we're like, man, who? Because we don't know the authors of it.
I agree. I agree with you, right?
There's even sometimes like, and don't get this.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
We're humans. We're imperfect,
Right.
right? Okay. If we're imperfect, that means that even if we learn how to say certain things,
Right.
if it passed through generations, things might change because we're not.
You're
perfect.
right. So let's think about this, right? So, do you believe that there was a Bible?
What do you mean by that? Though? When you say
Meaning,
there was a Bible?
do you think there was a revelation given to Jesus?
There is a revelation, yeah, of course.
Okay, good.
Jesus was giving a message to.
Excellent,
yeah.
excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
so a part of that message that we have today is what we are given as a Bible, right? Now, I agree with you that there's corruption that's coming in,
Yeah.
right? But a part of the message of Jesus is that there would be a comforter coming after him, right?
Right.
So now, if you look at the Prophet Muhammad, right? Now, was he a prophet or not? Like, let's talk about that, right? A man in a desert, right? 14 plus 100 years ago, right? He brings a message that till today is unmatched in its grammatical amazement, right? If you read Arabic grammar, it goes back to the Quran. How does a man who can't read or write,
I heard about that.
right?
That
So
sounds cool.
think about this,
Yeah.
right? Then a man in that time that comes and gives you news of what happened. Like people came and asked, well, why was Moses in Egypt when he's from Ben Israel that are in Sham?
Gotcha.
And then the revelation would come from Allah, right? To answer that because Joseph, he went to Egypt in his time, right? So how would he know all that? And a man who would put prophecies of things that would happen, battles between Romans and Persians that hadn't happened yet, and who would win, and that would come true, right? And a man who would come and talk about the signs of the Day of Judgment that would come afterwards, right? A man who would split the moon, right? Now this is something you need to read about.
Let me stop. Yeah, let
Go
me
ahead.
stop you right
Go
there.
for it.
What do you mean by that?
Split the moon, right? Hey, the people said we want to see a sign. Moon splits.
Well, how do you know that happened?
Right. It's a good question, right? So we got historic documentation, which is called hadith, right? That were
Is that
checked.
part of the Quran thing? Or
No, it's not, right?
that mean?
The hadith are the sayings and the actions and what happened during the lifetime of the Prophet that are recorded and checked, right?
But let me ask you something.
Go for it.
Could it be possible that maybe that was
It could be, right? So let's talk about that. Then you have Indian history in Sanskrit from Hindus who had no connection with Arabs
Okay.
that saw the same event
witnessed
and
it.
recorded it. Then you have European historic events which talked about seeing at the same historic time. Now you could fabricate maybe one of them, right?
Yeah.
But how did all these different cultures in different areas see the same thing at the same time?
What was the moon split for?
It was a sign.
Sign
to
for
sh-
what?
To the prophet or the prophet, right? People said, so let us see a sign, right?
Well, a sign for what? To see that you're a prophet of God?
Yes, exactly, right? So now
But
you
see,
have.
that,
go ahead.
That's where my problem is at, because like
Why?
people always ask for signs, right? They come
Right.
up to Jesus, give us a sign to know
Right.
that you're the one. Give us
Right.
a sign. So he's like, and then Jesus told him, he's like, you ask for signs, maybe one, but none should be given to you, but the sign of Jonah.
Right.
You know, because people are always like asking, they want to see wonders, they want to
Right.
touch. You know, that's why they
But,
build.
but Jesus
idols.
had his own miracles, right? Like he walked on water, right? So those are why. They were to show the people that he's not just out there trying to make something up,
Right,
right?
right.
So the Prophet Muhammad had not just that one, right? But this one, why I mentioned it, because you have different cultures that were so far apart from each other.
Right.
Like Hindus could not have gone to the Arabs and learned this at that time. They didn't even have trade.
Totally, yeah.
Right? And you can
I don't know how
today.
it happened. Trust me, I'm
Right?
still like kind of like.
Good. So that's what I'm saying. You got to read about these things.
But there is some stuff that's kind of. It does seem kind of like sci-fi, science, like
Right.
like
Sure.
Star Wars type of thing.
Right, but think about this, right?
Like, for example, when Muhammad was taken to the cave and there were two angels and the heart was taken out.
It's not quite like that, but let me.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Like,
I know, right? But that's the thing, right? Like a lot of what we see as reality today, if we talk about somebody, 3,000 years ago, they would see it as sci-fi, right? A lot of what happened back 3,000 years ago, if we think about it today, we think it's sci-fi.
It's true.
Right? So that's what I'm saying, right? I got you. Right? So the issue is, if you leave all those other miracles aside, just the Quran itself is enough of a miracle, right? You tell me, see, take this book, right? It's got a lot of the discussion about the scientific facts, right? Right? How does a man in a desert know about the ocean and its waves underneath the darkness of the bottoms who's never been to the ocean?
I'll tell you what.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
Right.
I will need to see during that time of history if there was some kind of astronomy going
Excellent. That's what I want you to do.
I don't know.
But look it up.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I'm with you. We'll do it together. We'll research it, right?
Yeah.
At that time, in the desert, in Arabia, right? Were there people that knew about when fresh water and sweet water?
At that time already, the Roman Catholic was already like, raised all over the place for years, and they had a bunch of they pretty much dominated the whole Western world. And
Right. I mean,
there was a lot of intelligent people that knew.
Sure. But this is not about astronomy. This is about the depth of the ocean, right?
Right.
And at that time,
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. There was.
Well, let's look it up.
Right.
Let's research it.
Right.
But that's one thing, right? How does a child develop? How are the stages of development? They didn't know back then. Right? So there's a scientist.
I don't know.
Well, but look it up, right? There's a scientist. His name is Dr. Maurice Bucaille. All right, Google him, right? He's a French scientist, atheist. Started out to prove religion wrong. He took the Bible, looked at the facts in the Bible, he proved them to be inconsistent with modern science. Standing ovation, everybody, woohoo, great, he's against religion, atheist guy, right? He said, I'm on a roll, let me do this with the Quran. He took the Quran, Maurice Bucaille, you're going to Google him, right? He's got a book called The Bible, the Quran, and Science. So he goes out as an atheist to disprove religion, and when he goes out, he studies the Quran, and he writes that there is no way from the scientific facts that were known anywhere in the world during the time of the Prophet Muhammad that he could have known this, peace be upon all the prophets, right? So he, as a scientist, did the exact same thing you want to do. He researched that time period. And he said the scientific facts in the Quran could not have been known to even scientists of that time, let alone a man who couldn't read. The Prophet Muhammad, he couldn't read. You get him a book, he was unlettered, illiterate, right? So now you think about that, right? Like, how would that happen? And it's not just one thing. There's linguistic miracles, there is scientific miracles, there are prophecies, there is history and future that was not known by the Arabs, right? So when you put all that together, you realize that there is a miraculous prophethood here, right? This is the final link of prophets, right? And this was predicted by Jesus and Moses and those before him, that comforter would come, right? So when you see that,
comforter, you see it as like
as the Prophet Muhammad, right? Because look, it would be the likeness of Moses, right? So when you think about how that comes, right? Somebody who had parents who was kicked out of his own people, like Moses, he had to leave the Pharaoh, right? So you look at those signs that come.
If he's a comforter, he should be linked up and correlate with what Jesus said, right?
Sure.
Otherwise, they can't be contradicting each other.
Sure. So we believe the message of Jesus and the message of Muhammad, peace be on both of them.
So let me ask you something then. So if you do believe that, because I heard of that, right?
Cool.
So that means that everything that Jesus taught, right, should be embraced by Muslims.
Of course.
I like 100%.
100%. But what he actually taught.
The problem, So the problem is that.
So
when you get some scriptures, because I know that scriptures are being altered.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's the issue.
But let's go back in this.
Sure.
What do you mean by altered, right? So language has changed, right? As we know, the New Testament, as Christians say, like it was written in Aramaic and Greek.
Exactly.
Greek, right? Because that was the language, right?
Aramaic, actually, because Greek wasn't the no. Because the language of the people of Israel Jesus was around was not Greek.
Right.
It was Aramaic.
Right.
Greek came after St. Paul. Right, which is about 100 years after Jesus' time, right? Because the language of knowledge at the time in the European side was Greek. So when that message went, it was translated into Koine Greek.
It's funny because they will speak actually mainly in Aramaic, but things that to be written on, it was mainly in Greek.
No, not in Israel. What is today Israel, like what Jerusalem is, right? Quds. The language of writing and language of the Jews over there was Aramaic.
No, right.
Even for their knowledge.
I'm talking about Jews. I'm talking about believers that were non-Jews afterwards.
Right, but that was about 100 years afterwards when it went into Koine Greek.
A couple years after.
No. Google it. Google it. No. But I'm saying is St. Paul was how long after?
Well, Paul was like a couple years after. I mean, not 100 years after.
About 70 to 100 years.
Yeah,
Google it.
Maybe 76, but not like hundreds. Like,
it was about. And that thing, after St. Paul, things went into Koine Greek. Right. So that was at minimum 70 years.
None of them, because a lot of the people that were being incorporated to the belief were non-Jews.
Exactly.
That's why. So
but that's it. So that means you have this big time period where there was no Koine Greek, it was an Aramaic.
Right.
When it went into Koine Greek, the original scriptures were lost, right? We don't have any of the actual writings.
To be honest, I will consider scriptures this.
Right.
The Torah, the Tanakh.
Sure.
That's it.
Right.
The other stuff,
John, Matthew.
This is just testimonies of people, believers.
I like
and
it.
the prophet.
I like it. I'm with you on this. Excellent.
So here's the thing. I think there's a lot of misconception in that. So when you read here in the New Testament, whenever it talks about like scripture stuff like that, it's talk about this, the Torah and the Tanakh.
Excellent.
Right. So let's just get that clear because
I'm with it. I'm with it. No, I agree with you.
But these are the testimonies of people that walk with the prophet.
But that's the thing. If you look up research on who wrote Matthew, Mark, John.
Some of we don't have the authors.
We don't have the author.
Yeah.
You're a well-read man already, right? You're there.
But that doesn't mean it's not true because
but let me ask you this, right? How do you depend on something you don't even know the author
because
of?
If Jesus was chosen to bring the message forward, it can't be altered whether man try to do it.
But that's the issue, right? If you look at the message today, there's definitely where's King James and others who came. So it was altered.
When we alter, I'm gonna tell you this.
All right, go ahead.
Remember, King James was the Anglo-Saxon English, right?
Yep.
Right. So it was in 1610.
Sure.
It was the first King James that was translated.
First English version of the Bible.
They put a bunch of words right there. For example, the Anglo-Saxon word, when they refer to the underworld, they will use the word Hellion, which is hell.
Hell, right.
The real word that was Jesus was able to speak about was Gehenna.
Right.
The Valley of Hinnom.
Right.
It was a valley outside Jerusalem that was a burning
interesting
place,
Right.
And I know, I think in Arabic it's Gehenna or something. How do you guys call it? Hell.
Jannah. Jannah, Jahannam.
Jannah. So God means valley. Hinnom means Hinnom. It was a valley where they used to sacrifice kids and do all this stuff.
Gotcha.
So they changed it. They just put hell. Why? Because they wanted to scare people.
Okay.
So this place was actually, the belief of hell is actually a pagan thing. It's a pagan root.
Interesting.
So the whole thing of like firing, torture. There's demons right there. That is all made by pagan. The Greeks believe in that, dude. They had a worship called Sol Divinitas. Oh, check it out, man. That's crazy.
This is cool stuff.
So once I found out about that, I was like, oh shoot, okay. So I started finding out like errors in the Bible, right?
Right.
But it wasn't so much that it was a message. It was certain words that were like mistranslated, right?
Excellent. But that's my point, right? When you have those errors, right? For me, as a person who wants to try to follow the truth 100%, that now I can't trust that 100%.
You know what I did? So I had King James, right? And I'm like, oh shoot.
Cool.
See where the authors and theologians from King James, where the source from.
Right.
And I started looking at the Greek, man.
Nice.
I did in the middle. Start finding out, man. So there's a bunch of people, bro. Maybe they're not the popular, but a bunch of people who are Christians, who are Jesus followers, who actually see Jesus as the prophet, not as the third person God, bro.
I'm with you on this, bro. Look at that.
That's the Muslim
belief.
Make sure you get it right there. Okay?
You get that?
Jesus is not God. However,
Jesus is not God.
The
prophet.
However, Jesus is the one sent from God. Is the one promised by God Almighty to come. And He's the one on top of Muhammad, Abraham, all the prophets.
Let's take a step back now. I'm with you, but let's take a step back. We're sticking to scripture, right? So now one thing we've come to an agreement is Jesus is not God.
Of course not.
Good. He's a prophet of God.
He's a prophet of God.
Now when you talk about a hierarchy, right? So we believe in all the prophets in an equal belief set, meaning that we believe in all of them, right? We can't say like I believe in Muhammad, but I don't believe in Jesus. Peace be upon them, right? No.
But there is some kind of favoritism more to Muhammad.
No. Let me explain this. No, I'm serious. No, there is not. The issue is...
I hear more about Muhammad with people than all the other prophets.
Right, because he's the prophet of our time. Right? If I was there in Jesus' time, that would be my prophet. I would be from his nation.
Here's the thing though. It wasn't your time. It wasn't our time. Right. Me and you, we live in a different generation. So
so we live in the generation where it's the prophethood of Muhammad. Right. Why? Because he's later. right?
I mean, we're talking about hundreds of years.
Yeah, 600 years between Jesus and Muhammad.
From Muhammad to
1400 and some odd years.
Right, it's a lot of
years. But this is the thing. He's the last prophet. So from now till the day of judgment, from now till the day of judgment, this is the nation of the Prophet Muhammad. That's why you hear about Muhammad more. But if we were there in David's time, we would follow David. Equally obedient to David if we were in his time as we are to Muhammad. Right? So you always have the first and the last, right? So Adam's the first of the prophets, the first messenger being Noah, and then the last Muhammad, right? So you have this chain. If you were there in the time of Abraham, then as a Muslim, you would follow Abraham, right? But because Jesus was 600 years before Muhammad.
Any of those guys, if we were there,
excellent.
There you go. Because we live in a time that we don't have none of them right here.
Exactly.
We have to follow all of them.
We follow all of them.
We have to look back and see
I agree with you. Look, I'm with you. We want to do that as well.
So here's the thing. When I see history, I see the prophets. First of all, they were speaking to the people of Israel.
Right.
Okay. When Jesus came,
came
to the lost
people,
right? But then he said, there's other children that are going to come and be adopted to this promise.
Right.
Okay, and he talked about Arabs, he talked about Greeks.
Different people,
He referred to us as everybody
Gentiles,
right?
I feel you.
Everybody's part of that. So the whole aspect is, what is the message?
Right.
Right? Like, I think the main message, and you probably agree with that, is like everybody wants to go to heaven.
Right.
Right.
So let's look at the 10 Commandments, right? Like here, your Lord is one, first commandment, right? We believe that. No three, no sons, no daughters. I'm with you, right? Don't worship graven idols.
No Trinity, guys.
No Trinity. One God, right?
And I'm Christian, guys.
You're Muslim, you just don't know it. We're getting there, right? So let's see. One God, right? No Trinity, no worshiping idols, no saints, none of that stuff. I'm with you, right? So don't kill people, don't rob, that's the same message, right?
More stuff there, it's the same.
It's the same, right? Now, the issue is, if you look at most Christians today, right, majority of them.
Right, it's a Trinity.
Trinity.
But that was because of the Roman Catholic Church.
Exactly.
So remember what they did? They took over with Constantine. Why? They wanted to make sure that everybody got embraced. Pagans,
and both Christmas. Where'd Christmas come from, right? Pagan.
Totally, man. All that stuff, man.
Don't agree with Christmas.
Yeah, totally, man. Like it was made up by the Roman Catholic stuff. For the purpose
Easter.
to control the Western nation.
Excellent.
So,
excellent.
But I believe, and Muslims, I'm sorry, I think something similar happened over there in the East too, my friend.
Sure, but let's talk about that. Like, let's talk about the Muslim, right?
Yeah.
All the holidays that we have, right? We have Eid al-Fitr, the Prophet celebrated himself.
Right.
Eid al-Adha, the Prophet celebrated himself. Right? We don't have any innovated festivals.
You zooming on me, bro?
He's zooming on me.
Hey, by the way, I'm really enjoying talking to this guys, man.
Me too.
Let me ask you something.
It's a pleasure.
There was a couple of times I actually encountered and talked to some Muslims, maybe because they were older. I had a different reaction though. This guy's a man of God, so
there you go. We'll keep it real.
He's being patient, man.
No. I'm learning from you, bro. This is great. So check this out, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about that corruption in the Christian church, we don't find it in the Muslim. There are sects that kind of went astray, but if you look at the main Muslim body, the way we pray 5 times a day, exactly the way the Quran shows. Totally. But you look at Catholics, like they go and put their mouth out, and some dude puts a wafer in them. Where's that in the Bible?
There's 1,012 denominations with a Christian.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I do that. I want to share with you something.
Right.
It's to be honest, I don't believe in religion.
Right. But look, you believe in the prophets, right?
Of course.
So that is religion.
But in your perspective of religion, I think I have a different.
So what's your perspective in religion?
I will say my way of walking.
Excellent.
So my way of walking, like you say.
What's your way?
Oh, it's my wife right there.
Hey, how are you?
She's recording me too. Don't record me.
He's a good guy. So, you got to hold on to this one.
This is actually a cool guy. Yeah. Sometimes I talk to some Muslim guys, they're being kind of like very aggressive.
Nah,
we're
cool.
They have not practiced that. That's why
it is, right?
When I saw this bro angry, I'm like, okay.
You like that one,
Let me see if this guy's gonna pop that, man.
Nah. So go ahead, man. What's your way of walking?
So what I was gonna tell you is, so the way you're walking, right, it's a lifestyle. And trust me,
I'm with you on that. But that is religion, right? I'm not talking about like the Catholic idea of this organized religion where you got a pope on top and you got the weird dresses and red shoes.
This is for me when I see religion is this.
Right.
Where you have to go to a certain place.
Right.
Pray a certain way.
Right.
Do a certain order.
Right.
That's when I see religion.
But let's think about this, right? Like you believe in the prophets, right?
Right.
And the prophets taught us in a way to pray, right?
Well, yes, and I'm going to tell you what Jesus said.
Go ahead.
There was actually a Samaritan person that came up to him. Mm-hmm. And remember, Samaritans and Jews, they were like...
they were going at it.
It was like, you can't do it. So they told me, like, you know, where should we go pray at?
Right.
Should we go to the temple?
Right.
Should we do it here in Mount Zion?
There you go.
He's like, you know what? The Spirit of God is, he's like, he's searching for people that are going to worship in spirit and in truth. So where there is in the temple, where there is here, wherever it is, as long as it's in spirit and truth, that's
what you just said is the message of the Prophet Muhammad. The Prophet Muhammad said the whole world has been made a place of prayer for us.
Right.
Right?
Ooh,
so we pray right here sometimes, right? If it's not prayer, that's what I'm saying.
So you don't have to be looking a certain way?
No, but okay, so now one thing is that you can pray anywhere, right?
Right.
But there is a unifying message, right? For example, we prostrate, right? We put our head down, right? But we got to have a unifying message, right? And that's why the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us that all the prophets before us.
If you don't face the way you're supposed to, what happens?
So this is the issue, right? First thing is that you have been taught a prayer by the Prophet on how to pray it, right? It doesn't mean that you have to go pay a church or you have to be a member of a certain congregation like they do in Christianity or Judaism. That's not what we're talking about. But you can't make up your own religion either, because it's divine law, right? It's a way of walk, but who taught you that? God, right?
Correct.
He sent you that message. And who brought that message to us? The messengers.
Of course.
So the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he taught us that in the beginning, when they started praying, he said face towards Jerusalem, Al-Quds, right? Then they changed that. Go ahead, go for it.
So Prophet Muhammad taught us to pray face Jerusalem.
Right.
Did Jesus taught that?
So I don't know, right?
The other prophets taught the same thing.
It's a good question, right? Let's get there. What Jesus taught regarding
I would like to see anything that, like, for example, because that's one subject.
Yeah.
If Prophet Muhammad taught it, I want to see if Jesus and the other prophets taught the same thing.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so let's get there.
Yeah.
The problem with that is we don't know a lot about what the Prophet Jesus taught his followers in prayer, because the historical records have all been corrupted, right? Because today when we look in the Bible, we find...
Will you say all of them?
No, I'm saying not all of them, but a lot of them, right? So it's hard to verify.
So that it's possible.
Right?
It's possible. Like, remember, what's being corrupt is being versions of it, right?
No, not just versions, but people that took passages out, people that, you know, Catholics have a different number of books, right?
Oh, yeah, they have more stuff.
Right, so that's the issue. Like, was that a part of the message of Jesus, peace be upon him, or not, right? King James and others.
So everything that happened in the New Testament, dude, remember, back in the 300s,
right,
they did the Council of Nicaea, right? They had
Council
to get together,
Nicaea, you know it,
right? And they had to pick books like what's gonna happen,
right?
So guess what happened to people that believe what I'm telling you right now?
They got killed.
They got killed.
Exactly.
They were Christians, bro.
They were
Christians killed.
And those Christians that believed the way they were the Muslims of the time.
Right.
We follow the same religion as they did.
Right.
But they were saying, look, this man's a prophet.
But the ones if that's true what you say, right, then you need to accept what I'm telling you. So we
already accepted it.
Right. So remember, the thing that you didn't accept though was that Jesus is the main king prophet.
But where did you get that from?
From the scriptures.
Show me.
Oh yeah, sure.
Go for it.
Who would you like to see?
The Jesus is the top of all the prophets.
Sure, man.
Go for it.
Who you wanted to be speaking? You want another prophet to be saying that?
It's up to you, man. Whoever you want.
Okay, cool.
Information about Islam. Everything is right here.
You remember his birth?
What?
His birth?
What
When Angel Gabriel came to Mary?
Right.
Okay, what did he say to her?
I don't know. You tell me.
Let's
I can tell you from the Quranic perspective, but
Sure.
Free information about Islam. Start Islam. Who's Allah? Who's the Creator? Who's the Jesus peace be upon him according to Islam? Free information. Free translation of Quran. Free information. Discover Islam here. Discover Islam. Discover Islam. Free information about Islam.
Okay,
take your time. Come back later if you want. I'm not trying to put pressure on you, bro.
That's cool, bro.
I got you.
I got it right here, man.
Go ahead.
It's just that since we were like speaking like that, like if you want to see him, like okay.
No, take your look. I'm not trying to pressure you. Take your time. Come back. Get my number. We'll hang out some other time. It's up to you.
Okay, so
go for it.
It says in Matthew 1:23.
All right. So, but Matthew, you said it's perspective of man, right?
Matthew.
So Matthew, Luke, John. What's the other one?
They're testimonies of people that walk with Jesus.
Right. But they weren't, because we don't know who the authors were, right? We already said that earlier today, right?
Right, but we don't know it doesn't.
Well, I mean, if you don't know who wrote it, I can't depend on it, right?
I depend on what God says.
Right, but these aren't the words of God, right?
No, of course that's not the word of God.
So if it's not the word of God, then we're not depending on it as God's words.
Right.
They're people's words.
Right.
And we don't know who those people are.
Now, when you say God's word, what do you mean by that?
The words, kalamullah, the words of God himself.
Like the word, like God spoke that.
Spoke, yes.
Like
That's what the Quran is.
Because there was another time where Moses spoke out of his own will, and he's written right here.
Sure. But we believe as Muslims that Allah, God, our creator, the one creator, he spoke to Moses, right? In a language that Moses understood. Doesn't have to be in Arabic, right? But the last revelation, the Quran, this is the actual words of God. They're not the words of Muhammad, peace be upon him, right? But Matthew, John, Luke, what's the other one?
Matthew, Luke, John.
Who's the fourth one, right? Luke, John, Matthew, Mark, sorry. These are not the words of God, right?
This is testimony of people that walk with
people, but they weren't at the time of the Jesus, right? These are the authors. We don't even know who they are.
Well,
right?
Mark actually, Matthew did.
Look this up. Look this up. All four of them. Look up, Google it, Wikipedia it. They're anonymous.
Right.
And they were in 70, around 70 years after Jesus. Right? So that means this is not the words of God. This is the words of people.
Yeah,
right?
I want to
and they have contradiction between them.
It's kind of tricky when you say that the words of God, because like I say, because you believe in the Torah, right?
I believe in the Torah, but I believe it's been corrupted as well.
In the Tanakh?
Yeah, Tanakh as well.
Okay.
Right,
but there's many times where even King David himself, he's speaking, and then King David speaks in behalf of what he received from God.
Right, but I believe, and you know historically of Babylon, all the stuff that happened, that all of those were, the original writings of the Torah were lost. And they were reconstructed from people. And that's why you see all these contradictions, right? But let me show you something, right? You're a biblical scholar, I know, so you're gonna be on this, right? Let's look at this.
Because if I read some of the stuff in the New Testament, then it doesn't make sense.
You're right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unless we go to Isaiah.
Let's look at this, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
2 Kings 8, right?
Yeah.
Verse number 26. Isaiah was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. Right? You see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, 2 Chronicles 9, verse, 2 Chronicles chapter 22, verse 2. Isaiah was 42 years old when he became king, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. So you see 22, or was he 42?
Gotcha. Okay.
See, this is the difference between the words of man and the words of God. Okay. You pick up the Quran, you won't find that kind of stuff.
I never noticed that.
But you got to read this.
I'll check that out.
Okay, no, so this is just one. Let me show you a few more.
Because the reason why I say I'll check it out, because I'm not sure if it's the same king, if it's, what do you mean by that?
How many How many Isaiahs ruled Jerusalem for 1 year?
Right. So I don't know the context of it.
All right.
So I can't.
But I want you to go back and read it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, totally.
Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he became king, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 3 months. Jehoiachin was 8 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem for 3 months. This is King James.
Is it King James too?
Yeah. Hold on.
That'd be something fun to look at.
Yeah, interesting, right? I don't know why they put all this stuff in the beginning instead of beginning with.
Who's the messenger peace be upon all of them? Who's the Jesus peace be upon according to?
Yeah, that's not a
King James.
It
is.
Oh yeah, the new King James. Oh, the new King James. Yeah. So remember I told you about the new King James and the King James?
Exactly.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying is if you look at these words.
The one that I read is actually Young Literal's translation.
The Young Literal will have the same numbers. Go home and check it.
Or
Google it right now on your phone.
I'll check it out.
Check it out. No. These are just a few that I can show you that shows the corruption that went on in the Bible by showing difference in numbering, right?
Right.
So
the fact that there's a different number is like a question, right?
So
what happened?
So look at this, right?
It's not accurate.
2 Chronicles 9, 25. Solomon had 4,000 stalls of horses and chariots and 12,000 horsemen whom he stationed at the chariot cities with the king at Jerusalem. Right? Now, 1 King 4:26. Solomon had 40,000. You see this? Stalls of horses and chariots and 12,000 horsemen, right? So here it's 40,000, here it's 4,000. How many Solomons were there? There's more than one?
40,000, 4,000.
Yeah. So this is the thing.
That's interesting, man.
That's interesting, right? You got to think about. Now, what I want you to do, is read the Quran. Take it with you.
I have
It's
one,
free, right? You have one?
Yeah, I have one.
Look through the whole thing and find me anything like this. You won't.
Yeah.
Because that's the words, the literal words of God, not the words of Muhammad, right?
Right.
And that's why we depend on that.
But I am going to tell you something.
Go ahead.
This is one version that's called
Right.
the New King James.
Sure.
There's many other versions.
Look,
brother.
right here is a different
So-
version.
so we
Let's look up the same numbers in here.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm
So,
gonna
look
look
it
it
up.
up. Yeah, I'm gonna look it up.
I have at least 12 different versions of the Bible in my house. All of them have the same inaccuracies. Why?
Now, when you were reading the Bible, were you looking to look for mistakes? Or
No.
were you looking to seek wisdom?
Seek wisdom. I used to go to Bible studies before I went to a mosque.
Okay.
I read the Bible cover to cover before I read the Quran.
Did you ever read Proverbs 8?
I read the entire Bible, but I haven't memorized it, right?
Wisdom?
I haven't memorized it, right?
Right.
But I went up to the Bible in Bible studies from cover to cover.
Gotcha.
Right? I was 15 at the time, right? I studied the Bible before I studied the Quran, right? I wasn't trying to criticize or argue or debate. I was 15.
Totally.
I was trying to learn. But the questions I asked in church got me kicked out a lot because, like
Of
you,
course, yeah.
a lot of it didn't make
Oh,
sense.
totally. I get
What-
kicked out sometimes too, bro.
You feel me, right? So now,
but I also get embraced a lot with
Nice.
people on the way.
I feel you.
know what I'm saying?
But most churches, if you go
The
in and
popular
say,
one, totally. I agree. I'm with
with you.
You know what they get called? They can either call me Jehovah's Witness or
Yeah.
they call me Muslim.
you're Muslim. I
It's
told
fine.
you, you
Okay,
just
okay,
don't know
that's the
it.
thing.
All right, check this
Go.
out now. Now, what we say is, look, you find these inaccuracies. So you know there's tampering. Because in the words of God, there can't be such, I mean, God knows 40 and 4,000 and 8 and 18, right? The Quran has none of
But
those.
those are, you know what? Trust me. I mean, I'm not looking at those numbers.
Good.
But even if I would see that, honestly, I see it as numbers. I don't see it as a life-giving source.
Right, but think about this,
So a
right?
life-giving source was something,
Sure.
for example, what I read.
Excellent.
Do not get angry. You know what I'm saying?
Perfect.
Wisdom. You know,
But-
apply.
But
what
the issue,
you
the
give.
issue gets to be is,
Right.
everybody has some nice things they say,
Right.
right? But if I come to you and let's say you're studying math with me,
Right.
right? And I tell you all kinds of really good math principles, and then I tell you 2 + 2 is 5.
Right.
And you're like, whoa, bro, I don't think so, right?
Right.
Then you would doubt my credibility, because if I don't know that 2 + 2 is 4, right? Even if the other nice things I said,
understand that. I understand that.
I don't become the criterion,
I
right?
see that.
So the Quran becomes the criterion of right and wrong. Why? Because this is perfection. No contradiction, no numbers wrong, right? Google it, look it up, right? And then what we do is, okay, then we look at what we find in this Bible, and we believe that some of it's the truth, right?
How do you determine what's true, what's not?
Excellent. We compare this message to the Quran. And the Quran being the perfection, the words of Allah.
But shouldn't we compare it to the first source?
Right, but that's the thing. We don't have the original writings
How
of
do
Jesus.
we know that? Who told you that?
Historic research. Go look it up.
Right,
Any biblical scholar.
Why historic? Because remember, in
Sure.
historical, biblical theologians, all theologians who put things together,
Right.
they have favoritisms.
No,
And you have to admit that, right?
if you look up online, Christian, non-Christian, Jewish scholars, one thing they all agree on is the original writings that were in the time of the Jesus are no longer with us. The best we have are 70 years, 40 years, 100 years after. And then those went
And then
through
we found the Dead Sea
translations.
Scrolls just a little bit ago.
Right. But the Dead Sea Scrolls, for example, aren't even included in the Bible here. I have them, right? I've been reading them, right? But this is the interesting thing.
No, they're included in there.
No.
Actually, a lot of them were.
Where are they?
They're books. Like the book
They're
of
not in
Daniel,
here?
Yeah, the book of
Show me.
Daniel. Like
No, the actual Dead Sea Scrolls that we have now as an independent book, right? Those were not published with King James versions.
There's a lot of so
Right.
books that were part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Remember, we put those together. There was no numbers before.
No.
Titles. We
But-
put those together
but-
so it'd be easier for people
But
to.
I
read
have
all that stuff.
them independent at home, and I read it, and there are chapters there that are not in this Bible.
Oh, chapters, but from what books? Like from the book of Daniel, Ezekiel,
From
Isaiah.
from the Dead Sea Scrolls themselves,
Right,
right?
but there's divisions in the Dead Sea
Right.
Scrolls. So
But-
what are you talking about?
But that entire what was discovered later, you will not find in here, right? All of it's not in here, right?
I
So
think they're in there.
really, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's just do this. When we'll go home, we'll get the actual Dead Sea Scrolls that were printed by themselves, and we'll compare it, right? Because when were they discovered?
Because I think a few years ago.
A few years ago, right? So when these were being printed for hundreds and hundreds of years, those weren't even discovered yet.
Well, that's the thing though. When they discovered and they saw that a lot of those stuff that are in there, it's like, yeah, I will tell you this. Some stuff were not in there, but a lot of them,
We're getting there.
A lot of them were included right there. Remember
Right,
this?
right. So that's a
problem
great.
is the Council of Nicaea, brother.
I agree
Trust
with you.
me,
I'm 100% with you on that one. The Council of Nicaea ruined the Christian faith, right?
And
by giving divinity to Jesus, who was a prophet.
Right, and where does that come from? The
Roman, pagan. I'm with you,
so
right?
Remember,
the sun
worship
god.
Of the sun god on December 25th.
This guy's Muslim. I told you, man.
I know that, but that doesn't describe.
So now let's agree to something, right?
Yeah.
Because me and you are on the same page, right?
Yeah. Somehow.
In a weird way. We are, and in a very clear way. I'm with.
Yeah.
Trust me, I have a lot of discussions with Christians. You're the most Muslim I've ever met.
But believe me,
right?
bro.
So now, if you have some corruption in here, right? You agree to that, right?
Yeah.
There is some. We agree, right? Then wouldn't we make the judge?
Now, when I say this, I'm talking about versions.
Right.
The message is not corrupted.
Right, but let's talk about the message, right? The Council of
message
Nicaea,
is not corrupted.
right? If you look at the numbers...
Wait. The reason why I tell you it was this. If we say the message is corrected, we say that God is not perfect.
No.
So we have to be careful.
No, I don't think that's what we're saying.
Okay.
We're saying is God is perfect. And His message is perfect.
The message is perfect.
But people, like the Council of Nicaea, corrupt the message.
Correct.
Right? They corrupt it, not God's message.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, if we know, like the numbers we just saw that don't match, right? That there is some addition, subtraction that was done, then we take that which is perfect and make that the judge, right? We say, look at what's in here, and if it matches that which is perfect, we believe in it. And if it doesn't, then we say, you know what?
But then what do we do with all the writings that
we keep
they're
it.
like they're not
we
real?
keep
Like, for
it.
example, the letters of Matthew.
Look, we keep everything, but we judge it against a message that was preserved in perfection. And let me give you.
There is a part in the I remember in the Quran. I remember like reading it, which says, if you have any questions, to go back to the people of the way.
People of knowledge. Right. So what does that mean? أسأل أهل الذكر. Go and ask the people of remembrance, right? Meaning you go to the people who know the Quran, who know the Hadith, that know the Bible, that know history, and you and me as laymen, we go to those scholars with our questions and see what the answer is, right?
Well, at that point, we remember when Muhammad's reading that, he's referring to the Christians.
Right, but he's talking about a general rule that's applicable for us as Muslims. And what is the rule is that if you don't know, go to the people of knowledge, right? It doesn't just mean Christians or Jews, right? It means, for example, if I have a question I don't know, I need to go to a scholar, right? And that's what we believe today.
Have you read the Old and New Testament?
The Bible, New and Old Testament.
Is there any New Testament that you disagree as far as like a moral law?
So when you talk about moral law, right? Let's take at
like I know earlier you were talking about like turning your other
Sure. So I'll show you what I think.
Is there some teaching there that you're like, no, that doesn't correlate with the Quran?
I'll show you.
No, the New Testament. That's the Old Testament.
So, for example, in the...
Is there something there that you're like, wait a minute, this is...
Yeah. So he says, don't think that I came... New Testament. Matthew, right? Don't think that I came to bring peace on earth.
Bring a sword.
To put a man against his father, to put a daughter against her mother.
Translated with a lot of
all right. So tell me, what do you think it means?
No, you tell me first.
So I think it shows that Jesus came to bring division. And I don't believe that. I believe Jesus came to bring peace, right? For example, in Luke here, I see, do you suppose that I came to give peace on earth? Tell you, not at all, but rather division, right? This is Luke again, chapter 19.
So
verse
to bring a certain father will be against mother.
Right.
So can I have the permission to explain?
Please.
That? Okay.
Educate me.
And the people watching too.
Yeah.
Okay. What happens is when you have a belief, okay, you've been taught that we are to worship this yellow pen.
Right.
Your family traditions have always done that.
Right.
The moment that somebody teaches you something different, now it changes. Your family, guess what's gonna happen?
They're gonna go against you.
They're gonna disown you.
Right.
They're gonna divide everything.
Right.
So when Jesus came to bring a message, it was a message that was gonna divide people. Why? Because people were gonna feel uncomfortable.
Right.
So the Jews at that time, they had their customs, their things like, wait a minute, what the heck? We're supposed to do this like this. Like who are you to start teaching? Like, Jesus was bringing light. So guess what? There was division. And guess what? The fourth of it.
But don't you think that message would bring peace though?
Bro.
I'm saying it'll bring some struggle. But it says that I didn't come to bring peace.
Right.
I don't believe Jesus brought. I believe that message of Jesus would
But
eventually bring that peace.
It's metaphor. We have to be careful when we read that because it's
So-
something
so-
that's very metaphoric.
So-
When it
so-
says like it's not talking about pieces and like let's
So let
make
me-
war like because Jesus
You
never
are-
said let's go and kill people.
All right,
Let's
so
do that. It's not about war.
you just said Jesus never said let's go and kill people, right?
Yeah, she didn't say
All
let's
right.
kill people.
So Luke 19:27. But bring here those enemies of mine who did not want me to reign over them and slay them before me.
Okay. Let's read that. Let's read it in context. It's very important.
Yeah,
to
read it.
context. Okay. So did you? I think are you talking
Read
about a
it.
parable? Let's see. Like, you're talking
No,
about a parable.
we're talking about Luke.
Okay, then Jesus entered and passed earth. Okay. Likewise he said to him, okay, let's read it. Master, here is mina, which I kept away for I received because of you. And said to him, out of your own mouth I will judge you, you wicked servant. You knew that I was collecting. Why then did you put my money? Yeah, so this is a parable.
How is that a parable?
Oh,
go ahead.
this
Keep
is a
going.
par- yeah.
Keep reading. Go ahead. Why did you not?
Why did you not put my money in the bank? Yeah, this is a parable
Right.
of the bench with the workers.
So go ahead.
So Jesus is telling a story.
No,
This
he's giving his commandment, right?
No, this is a
Go
story.
ahead.
He's talking a parable. You know what parable is, right?
I know what a parable is,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've read parables.
This is all
but,
parable,
but
bro.
how do you find that?
What do you mean how to find it? Like,
Whose
from the
words
beginning.
are these?
This is Jesus speaking.
Okay, so Jesus is
Yeah,
saying,
so he's telling a story. He told them many
for
stories.
those that didn't want me to rule,
Right. So
Bring them in front of me.
No. You misconcepted me.
Go
That's
ahead.
why I say read in context.
Go ahead.
So let's go back.
Okay.
First of all, this story is about that.
Where does it begin?
Okay, let's go for
Go
the
ahead.
beginning. Okay. Then Jesus entered the pass to Jericho. Now behold,
Jesus.
there was a man
Right.
named Zacharias who was the chief tax collector, and he
Right.
was rich.
Go ahead.
And he sought to see who Jesus was, but could not because of the crowd. For
So this
it
is
was short
Jesus'
stature.
own story.
Yeah, right. Right, right here, Jesus is just
Okay.
somebody's telling the story.
Keep going.
Okay? So he ran out ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was going to pass away. And Jesus came to the place. He looked up and saw him and said to him, Zacchaeus, make haste.
So this is
and come
Jesus'
down."
own
this
story.
Is this is story. This is Jesus' story. For today I must stay at your house. So he made the haste and came down and received him joyfully. But when they saw it, they all complained, saying he was gonna be a guest with the man who is a sinner. Okay, so this guy
Jesus.
obviously he's not enjoy. Yeah, Jesus. This is Zacchaeus is not it's supposedly he's a sinner. Yeah? Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, look, Lord, I give half of my goods to the poor, and if I have taken anything from anyone by false accusations, I restore fourth. Then Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house because he also is a son of Abraham. For then the Son of Man has come to seek and save that which was lost. So that's Jesus saying he's the Son of Man.
This is all no parable. This is the actual Jesus
yes,
story.
Right here, yeah.
Okay, go.
Now, as he heard these things, he spoke another parable. Right
Keep
there.
going.
Right there. You see that?
Right.
As he said the thing, he spoke another parable. So this is
Go
where
ahead.
the parable starts.
Another parable.
Right.
Okay.
So this is where the parable starts.
Go ahead.
Okay. And he starts. It's like, now here are the things. He spoke another parable because he was near Jerusalem, and because they thought they thought the kingdom of God will appear immediately. Therefore, he said, a certain blind man went into a far country. So this is where the parable starts.
Okay, go ahead.
Chapter 12. A certain man went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom to return.
Okay.
So he called 10 of the servants, delivering to them 10 minas, and said to them. So he got how many servants?
10.
10. Do business till I come. Okay. So this is not Jesus. This is a parable.
That Jesus
of a
is
man.
telling.
Right. Well, yeah. But
A message that
right.
Jesus is bringing.
Jesus,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a parable, it's a story to give us a picture of something.
To get a lesson.
Right. Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Correct. So there was a certain man,
Okay, go ahead.
no man, from a faraway
So
country.
Jesus is telling us a story.
Yeah. We don't know
Got
the
it.
country. He's just a
Okay,
story.
so
From
keep
far away.
going.
He got 10 men, right? Okay. But his citizens hated him and sent a delegation after him, saying, he will not have this man to reign over us.
Okay.
And so it was that when he returned, having received the kingdom, he then commanded his servants, to whom he had given the money, to be called to him, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading.
Okay.
Then came the first, saying, Master, your mina has earned 10 minas.
Okay.
And he said to him, well done, my good and servant. And the one that's saying that, remember, is that this one
Okay.
man. We don't know who this man is. This is part of the
Gotcha.
story, okay? And then he said, well done, good servant, because we're faithful is in a very little, have authority over 10 cities.
Okay.
Then the second came saying, Master, your mina has earned 5 minas. Okay? So
Okay.
everybody's like earning best,
All
right?
right, so let's go to
keep going.
minas, yeah.
Okay?
Master.
Okay. And then, Master, here is your mina, which I have kept and put away in a handkerchief. So this guy
Okay.
didn't do anything with that. For I fear, and this is his excuse. For I fear you, because you are utter man. You collect what you did not deposit, and reap what you did not sow.
Okay.
And he said to him, out of your own mouth I will judge you, you wicked servant. You knew that I was an outer man, collecting that I did not deposit, and reaping what I did not sow.
Okay.
Why then did you put my money in the bank? Why didn't you put my money in the bank?
Okay.
That I might be.
So these are the words of Jesus, though, right?
Yeah. He's a parable.
So keep going.
But it's not a real story. It's just a parable.
It's not a real story.
No, it's just a parable.
A fake story.
No, it's a parable.
But parables are on real events.
No, they're not fact. No, they're not fact.
Just Jesus made it up.
He tells stories
that are not real.
To pick a picture. Okay. When he talks about kingdom, for example, when he talks about the kingdom of God.
So you're saying Jesus would make up this story?
Yeah, he never mentions names.
Okay, that's interesting.
If it was real, he'd be like the King Solomon.
Okay.
He would tell the story. He never mentions names. He never mentions. He just mentions characters and gives us the pictures.
But these are the words of Jesus.
Right. These are the words of Jesus, and he's telling us a parable.
And that parable,
so a parable,
right.
It's a secret message hidden within the parable.
So
for us
that's
to
okay. So in that parable, so let's get to. In that parable, it says, bring forward those enemies of mine who did not want me to reign over them and slay them before me.
Right.
So do you think Jesus is teaching us this parable?
In that story, that man is saying this.
So what is the message of Jesus in this parable and this?
That's a good question. Okay.
Right?
That's a good question.
I don't believe that's a good message.
So because you're seeing if Jesus is saying this,
but he is saying this is the words of Jesus, right?
Like you said, he's telling a story. Okay. If I tell you this, hey,
if you're here telling me a moral story,
there was a man in a faraway kingdom, and there was a queen, and there was a king. He had two servants. They went out, they ate, and then the second servant killed the third servant. Right now. But there's some moral. Where's in there? Am I saying that?
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, let's say you tell me, I'm going to tell you a parable, right? I'm going to teach you a lesson through a story.
Right.
And the story you tell me has massacres and killings in it. I'm going to ask you, what is the message you're giving me?
And that's what let's see what's over here. Yeah. So let's see this. Bring here those enemies of mine who did not want me to reign over them and slay them before me. When he said this, he went ahead going to Jerusalem. And then he came to pass when he drew the near the sea of Bethany. Okay.
So these are names and places.
Yeah. No, well, the parable already finished, bro.
Right, but I'm saying is, so this is now no longer the parable?
No, it's no longer the parable. Okay. Remember, don't get confused, because the way you confuse, man, is because numbers. And it almost seemed like he's speaking, he's not speaking. All these numbers right here, 23, 24, that was put later for us.
No, but I'm saying, how would you know where the parable begins then?
Okay, so let's see where it begins. Okay. Well, let's see where it ends. But then he said, Master, for I say to you that everyone...
Master here is the parable still.
Yeah, it's still the parable.
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone will be given from him, does not have any... Okay. But bringing here those enemies...
of mine who did not want me to reign over them.
Okay, and they finish. Boom, dot. You even see the little commas.
But dots are all right up in here too. But
not the double ones.
Commas here?
Yeah, but not the double ones. See that?
Okay.
The double ones means like
double commas mean...
So you start right here. Start right here.
Okay. So let me see where it begins then. The doubles.
Yeah. See that? See, right here.
So you call 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is all part of the parable. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
So keep going.
So it's finished right there.
Okay.
Then Then the writer. Okay.
When he had said,
it already finished.
Okay.
So when he has said this, meaning this parable, now it says he went ahead, going up to Jerusalem, and he came to pass when he drew near Bathsheba and Bethany and the mountain called Olive, that he sent two of his disciples, saying, "Go into the village on the opposite of you, where as you enter, you will find a colt tied, which no one has ever sat. Loose it up and bring it here. And if anyone asks you why you loosen it, thus, so say to him, because the Lord has needed of him."
So the point being, is that Jesus telling me...
You were telling me that Jesus was saying this as but this is his words saying the command.
What I meant, and is that this is the words of Jesus, as being taught to us.
Yeah, he's saying a parable.
Exactly. Okay, so is Jesus is telling us in a parable or whatever, a story, that bring forward those enemies of mine who did not want me to reign over them and slay them before me. What is the message here for us?
Right. So we need to see the whole context of it. Right.
We just read the whole thing until the beginning to end, right?
So let's do the beginning, right? So then you have a master,
right?
He had he had 10 servants.
Okay.
Right. Some of them went and they minus his money. Let's just say money. The money.
Sure.
They went to investor. They got double. So now we see a picture of a master and his servants.
Got it.
And then we see one lazy servant.
Got it?
He didn't do anything.
Right? So he should be killed?
He should. Wait, that's the thing. That's the thing. This guy's
I'm with you. I'm listening.
Okay. So and then it says we'll come to the last right? And they said and say to you, everyone. Oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
What is it?
Go ahead.
Okay. For I say to you that everyone who has will be given, and from he who does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. Man, that's freaking good.
Yeah.
So
what does that mean?
Okay. The picture and the whole parable thing, God is giving you a gift.
Right.
Okay. That gift, in this case, the master, you can say, is kind of God. Okay.
Right.
The gift that is given to you,
Okay.
which is, for example, the gift of love, right?
Right.
The giving, right?
Right.
Giving food, whatever. If God has provided you with all these gifts, you're a great businessman, right?
All right.
You have all this stuff to do a different stuff, and you keep it just for yourself. That's selfishness.
Right, okay.
You're not giving fruits of it. You're not multiplying. You're not doing anything.
That's a
with it.
servant in the parable? Okay.
Of course, yeah. I'm just saying that.
Right,
You know?
so but get to the message here, but bring
Right.
those enemies of mine. And these are the words of Jesus,
Right.
Who did not want me to reign over them and slay them before me. What's the moral lesson in this parable
So I'm
for
explaining
us?
this. The enemies of mine is selfishness. We have to defeat
Oh,
that, and we gotta slay that.
where did you get that from?
Oh no,
that's not in the wording, right?
Well, that's the thing that you
Right.
have to be for it. 'Cause
You're
when
kind of
you say-
making up your own meaning here,
that,
right?
but you too, though. When you say
No,
enemies,
I'm reading
right,
it
so it doesn't
literally.
specify who the enemies are.
Right. So those who did not want me to reign.
Right.
Right.
So those, remember, a lot of the times when you read, you'll speak about like, and she sat down with me. He's talking about wisdom. Is wisdom a woman?
No. But where did you
No,
get?
I'm just saying.
No. But this
Right.
that's a scenario we have to find context, right?
Truly.
So in this context, actually about people, servants that are actual people, not
Totally.
greed, not
Remember
a
this.
parable,
We have to
right?
go back again. This story, it's a parable.
Right, but a parable about
everything's symbolic.
Sure, but
So
they're
sometimes
actual
a servant
people,
can
right?
symbolize an
But-
angel.
but I'm saying is-
a house.
Exactly,
a
but how
people.
did you give that meaning?
know?
Just from your whatever you feel?
No, it's not for whatever I feel.
Right,
It's
so
for-
you gotta give
when
some kind of
when you
historic
keep-
context, right?
So when you keep reading and you
Okay,
keep reading it,
so-
everything starts making sense, and you start saying, "Oh, shoot, that's right." Because for example, one of the last enemies to be defeated, revelation from God, it's death. Is death
Okay.
a person?
No.
Right? It's an enemy.
But that's the thing. When you say that this is one of the last people, you have to have context that death is being referred to, right?
Right.
I can't just say, well, what's being referred to is my inner desires or
Right.
my that, right?
So,
like
so
even
because
when
of that,
we,
I will say the same thing. Is
Sure.
it referred to people, or it could refer to? So you will agree with me that it could be referred to people, or it could be referred to.
sure,
a
but you
right?
have to look at
Right.
historic context.
Well, we have to
for
look
us.
at the whole thing, right? So
Right,
I
we
will
just
say the whole
read
word.
the whole parable, right?
Well, that's just
until the
parable.
end, right?
Correct.
So here,
Correct.
when you find bring these enemies of mine,
Right.
we're talking about people so far, not
Okay.
greed
Totally,
that
totally.
did not want me to reign over them
So
and slay them before
what
me.
you had to
right?
ask first is
how
like,
would you
who
slay?
who did the master symbolize?
Right? I don't know. You tell me. So that's what I'm
I
saying.
think that'll be a homework thing.
But let's do this homework, guys. Let's do this. All right. So let's look at.
I'm enjoying talking to this guy, man.
I'm with this, man. This is great.
But you have to admit though,
Yeah.
at the beginning you were saying you mistaken that.
No,
you
no.
were saying that Jesus was that's the words of Jesus.
I still say that, right?
But I was telling you it's a parable that he was telling.
But my point was that these are the words of Jesus.
Right.
And I, reading this, don't feel
But
that
you-
this is the message
But you
in
have
a
to
parable or
right. So you have to
Right, so-
that because sometimes Jesus is telling a story
Right.
and he's talking
But-
about what the person in
but-
the story is kind of saying.
but here the story has to have a moral message to it, right?
It has to have a message, right?
Right.
Definitely, yeah.
So the message that I'm reading, without giving
Right.
my own understanding to it,
So I came to help you out, and
I love it, right?
brother.
So that's what I'm saying is that me and you have to go and research.
Right.
If we can give a different meaning to
So
this
my
because of
question-
context.
My question is this:
Go ahead.
Would you accept if I'm teaching you this stuff?
Sure.
Or is your mind already made up to? Be
No.
like,
No. I as I said,
Right.
if my mind was made up, I wouldn't even be asking.
That's
right?
what you know. You have a good spirit, bro. I like that.
But as Muslims, we do everything in the light of proof.
Totally.
Right? If I tell you the Quran verse means something, I have to give you evidence.
Okay.
Right? I have to look at the sayings of the Prophet. I have to look at the authenticity of those. I
Right.
can't give my own like if I don't like a certain.
Would you say it's not fair? And I will say not fair because we're only using what you would say Islamic resources.
No, we don't use only Islamic
talking
resources. Like when we talk about splitting the moon,
Like
right?
for example, if you would tell me, oh my gosh, so the Prophet Jesus totally said, and Muhammad will come later. I'll
Right,
be like,
right.
dude,
Where's it at?
Heck
Right?
yeah,
Yeah,
No, I
let's
mean,
do
like,
this. Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it doesn't. But it does give us an idea, correct?
Right.
And you're assembling that, like, you know what? Potentially, it could be Muhammad. We can't say certain that it is.
I agree with you, right?
Well, you can say potentially, maybe that's it.
When you look at those signs that were given already,
Yeah.
and then you see a prophet in the
your number, bro?
desert,
'Cause I gotta
take
get
my
in
number,
contact with
man.
you. What city
Take
you
it.
at?
I'm in San Diego, man. La Mesa.
Show me Fulton, but
Where, Fulton?
Yeah.
That's cool, man. We'll still hang out.
we gotta.
We do.
How old are you, bro?
I don't know, 41, 42, something like that.
No, you're not, dude.
Nah, I am, man. I'm old.
41, dude?
Yeah. How old are you?
34, man.
Nah, you're young, man. I like it.
Well, you
See-
got a younger spirit, then.
Nah, but see, check it out. So
Here,
when we
what's your number?
619.
Okay, I gotta let you go in bed, man.
All right, go for it, man.
Good conversation here, man. This is what's called enlightening, and just.
You know, I learned a lot from you, bro. Seriously, and I want to learn more, man. Go ahead.
What's your name?
I already put it in.
No, your name?
Uthman, I already put it in. I already added
Sure?
it. Yeah, go to yeah, there it is.
you go.
There you go, man.
Mike, dude.
Mike, I got your number.
Thanks,
We're gonna
man.
hang out.
So
We're gonna talk.
What do you say you're gonna give me? You say like a.
So I'm gonna give you this, and I'm gonna give you this.
Social media?
I don't. Yeah, we
what
got
do
a
you use to
YouTube channel, but that's it. Phone.
Oh, am I gonna be on
Yeah.
YouTube, dude?
Yeah, if you wanna be.
It's okay, bro.
If not, we'll block you out. Don't worry about it,
bro,
man.
bro.
We
That's
got
fine,
you.
that's fine.
You got a Quran already,
Hey,
right?
Put the whole thing, dude.
The whole thing. We
Hey,
don't
you
edit.
have to
We
admit,
don't
there's
edit.
a couple dudes for both sides.
Sure.
I know a couple like Christians that are like going in like
Nah,
they kinda
we
edit it,
don't do that stuff,
and they
man.
cut things up.
No.
Oh,
Look,
and also like I can see a
look.
couple ones that they do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like they trigger people and they like.
Nah. Like if you can go check our channel.
No,
We've got a bunch of stuff
I
already.
think some people got trip out, man, when they hear.
This is good stuff, man. It's good stuff to learn from, man.
For sure, man.
All right, bro.
All right,
Keep
man.
up and
man.
give me a call.
For sure, man.
I'm gonna invite you down, have some dinner with us.
Hey, I would
Bring